Tesla recovered nicely yesterday, and I was so happy to see that it closed above both Levy's and Jonas's price targets. So are we going to see a follow through today? Well, not so far. This morning we were just above 260, still above those two price targets. But the market seems to be completely exhausted. Good morning. This is Randy Kirk. I am so thrilled to have all of you folks listening each morning. It gives my heart joy to be able to see that so many folks are watching what I am preparing each day. Anyway, hit like if you like. Hit subscribe if that would tickle your fancy. And then I've got a bunch of programs coming up you're going to want to see, so hit notify. I'm going to see Brian White. Brian is going to be on Sunday morning. We got Larry Goldberg tomorrow morning. Great shows. Okay. And then, of course, Patreon. Love to see a bunch more folks join on Patreon. The flight to safety seems to be the call this morning, since we've got money coming out of equity and into bonds. The bond yields on 2 and 10-year are dropping like a rock, with money just pouring into the bonds. The Purchasing Managers Index is due out later this morning, and people are starting to be worried again about a possible recession. So maybe they're waiting for the PMI to see which way things are going. Are purchasing managers enthusiastic about the future? Are purchasing managers not enthusiastic? We'll see, but unfortunately that comes out after I shoot this video. So take a look at that. You might want to, it's going to be out at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. By the time you're watching this, they'll be out. Just, take a quick Google and you can find out how the PMI came out. Anyway, but oil is leading this negative sentiment, breaking down to almost match the recent lows. It's sitting around 67 and a little bit of change. The recent lows were 66 and 74 cents. So anyway, there's another indicator. Folks are thinking maybe the recession is still on. Which way is it going to go? I continue to be, of course, I'm the optimist. I continue to think no recession. I'm going to need to see it in the employment numbers before I'm going to believe it. All of the negative Nelly news seems to be a continuation of negative sentiment after Chairman Powell's remarks. The Fed does want to drive down interest rates. They want to drive it down. They say they're okay with it going down slowly, but apparently they're not okay with it going down slowly because they're hammering and hammering and hammering about how they're going to increase interest rates. And so the markets are pretty unhappy about that. Okay, I want to update a little the conversation I've been having with you about DOJO and DOJO as a service. Here's just a few points. Number one, there is, no matter what anybody says, there is no guarantee that there will ever be a DOJO as a service being provided by Tesla, that they will make this an offering. Yes, I think there's a good chance that they will, maybe in 2025, after they've completely ramped up production and they're seeing that everything is going along swimmingly. I don't see it for next year. I would not begin to model into that's. I know it doesn't sound like Randy. I'm usually like, oh yeah, if they can do it, they will. What we don't know is whether or not it will be competitive with other offerings at that time, and that's what Elon has said. I take Elon at his word. Now, yes, there's a lot of smiling and smirking and suggestions that they definitely would like to offer DOJO as a service, but right now I'm just saying, hold your horses on that one. Okay, but I still believe it'll happen. I just don't think it'll be right now. And there's no evidence yet that for 100% certainty that it will. Okay. Number two, the computer capacity on DOJO is so big that even the experts seem hard pressed to quantify the potential. It's like, how do you put a number on this? It's so huge. And understanding it is way over my pay grade, believe me. So I've been putting in hours listening to the experts. All I can tell you for sure, this is a massive game changer for FSD and Optimus, and it may eventually be a service. Number three, Elon has stated that if it is a service, it'll be hundreds of billions of dollars. So however you want to take that. I mean, we know what happened with AWS and Amazon, so that potential is there. As I mentioned, I'm just discounting it right now. And number four, someone has asked about whether ChatGPT, whether this would be an opportunity for Tesla to compete with ChatGPT or similar. What I'm understanding is this is more likely that ChatGPT, maybe not ChatGPT themselves, but people like that who need those kind of numbers would come to Tesla to use their compute capability, which would be much greater probably at that point even than Microsoft. So anyway, okay, jobless claims came in yesterday basically as expected. This is why I'm saying no recession. I just don't see any evidence in the job numbers. I've said this before, for those of you who listen all the time, but I don't see how you have a recession when you have full employment. I don't see how you have a recession when right now employees are finally getting ahead a little bit of inflation, and where Fed Chairman Powell thinks that the employees will continue, that labor will continue to see their paychecks going up a little faster than inflation. And he's okay with that. He would like to see it be about a point higher. So if people have money to spend, they're going to spend it somewhere, or save it, which, will potentially go into equities. Anyway, yeah, a little hard to call. One of the things that's very hard to call, of course, is the continuing aging of populations. This is going to be having a continuing effect on everything, every part of the economy. I will tell you, I took another look yesterday at Truflation's numbers. Truflation is now under 2.5, and basically every single aspect of the economy is going, the inflation numbers are going down. Everyone. Earlier, you could see most of them were going down, but a few were still going up, like travel services, those kinds of things, entertainment services. But now almost every single one is going down. One exception was food and beverages were up slightly, but it was just a slight reversal of what has been a big downtrend. And of course, this oil drop of another $2, actually $4, $4.50 in a couple of days, that would point to more, disinflation. Anyway, we had the continuing home numbers over yesterday. Sales of existing homes were also in line, maybe even a bit higher than expected. So there's nothing in that would cause any movement in the stock market. You can expect, of course, existing home sales are not going to be able to be extremely high because there's no inventory. Pricing is going up because there's no inventory. There's no inventory. Please understand me. There's no inventory. Builders are more optimistic, and they might do some more starts, but most of those starts are going to be in the luxury homes and in rental units. Builders cannot make money on affordable private residences, single-family dwellings right now. They just can't. The game is rigged against people that are looking for the $250,000 to $600,000 home. Builders are not going to build in that category. Let's see. I guess talking about the oil being down, part of that was because there was a surprise, rather, because there was a dip in inventory. So a surprising dip in inventory, it was actually bigger than expected. Some people are pointing to England, that England seems to be more headed towards a recession. I'm not sure that's it. So, yeah, so I'm this whole bond yield thing continues to bother me. I have done more and more research. I'm trying to find out why we would have this inversion continuing. The inversion continues to be huge. Even this morning, the 10 years were down. The 2 years were also down, but the 2 months were up this morning. Again, I have to think that these are people are trying to ensure that they can hold on to even a 3.7% yield over the next 10 years, because they believe that inflation is going to be under 2%. way under 2%. There's a traditional 2% real interest that people hope to make. So if inflation is at 1.5, you want to make 3.5. So this is implying that the market believes inflation is going to be at 1.5 over the long term, which would be well within Fed limits and would cause interest rates to drop. Now, if interest rate drops, the underlying bonds are going to jump up, obviously, and so people can make some money on that change. So anyway, that's where we're headed on that. Well, the Conference Board leading economic index declined for the 14th month in a row. Now, this would normally have been something that would cause the market to go down today, but people haven't been paying a lot of attention to the Conference Board's numbers recently. But even with those declines, the board expects positive GDP in the second quarter and then slightly negative in Q3 and through Q1. And they're saying it's because of the loan pressures, not enough money out there for companies to borrow, maybe even for individuals to borrow, and also lowered government spending after Congress and the president agreed to some new limits. So my response to that is, the government not spending as much, obviously that's going to have an impact, but I'm wondering why the loan situation is going to be so bad, because there's a lot of cash, tons and tons of cash on the sidelines. If you take a look at yesterday's interview that I had with Renee, and you'll see individuals have 4 times as much money in the bank as they did pre-COVID. Anyway, for those of you who are wondering about demand in Europe, overall auto demand is up 18% in May, with Tesla leading the EV charge. The EVs were up 66% compared to last year. Tesla crushed it with almost 30,000 registrations in May compared to 2,000 last year in the same month. That brings total sales to 139,000 for Tesla, which is more than double the same 5 months last year. Well, European recession or not, overall auto sales are up. Tesla is way up, massively up. So why is Tesla stock down this morning? Tons of news coming around the Model 3 refresh. The latest seems to be that there's going to be substantial changes inside and out. I mean, a whole list of changes, including technology upgrades and aspects of how the car is built. I won't go into the long list here. I will save that for an interview I'm doing with Brian White that will air on Sunday morning. So hit notify if you want to be sure to hear my interview with Brian on Sunday morning. The bad news seems to be that production of this new upgrade may not be until not the end of June, which a lot of people were speculating, not the end of the third quarter, but sometime in the fourth quarter or maybe even in the next year. So that's a little bit surprising. I would certainly have thought that Singapore would be rolling out earlier than that, but apparently that is at least what the rumors. These are rumors, okay? There are lots of conversations right now about the actual state of inventories, speaking of inventories for Tesla right now, speaking Model 3. The main sense is they're way down. Usually we seem to be getting really, really good inventory numbers, but right now there seems to be some problem getting good numbers. But everything seems to suggest that those numbers are down pretty substantially. Tesla has been offering some very good deals in order to move that inventory out. Ron Barron comes out, says that he sees Tesla stock now he's the ultimate insider. He's a major holder of Tesla stock, and obviously has Elon's ear, although obviously, hopefully Elon is not sharing any insider information, didn't want to suggest that, but Ron Barron would have more access than probably anybody. He's saying $500 by 2025 and $1,500 by 2030. 500 would be way under my estimates. I'm looking at 700 in 2024. And so good for you, Ron. I hope you're right, actually, because that would be a doubling from here. And how many stocks will be double in 2025 what they are today? But I'm saying it'll be higher than that. That is all I've got for you right now. I hope that you enjoyed it. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit notify, and join Patreon. And it's been great talking to you this morning.